Hey, next movement hack for you. In the last video I mentioned sitting on the floor, and there's some progressions of making your way down to the floor if you can't sit there already. I personally am more of a floor sitter than I am a furniture sitter. I sit on furniture typically when I am outside of my house. When I'm in my house, you'll most often find me on the floor versus on my couch. Not that I never do, I'm not anti furniture. I just have sat on the floor for so many years that I'm more comfortable. I'm just comfortable there, and I like being able to move and shift and just change my position. So if you're not comfortable getting down to the floor yet, there's some things you can do to just change up your current seated position that will help you get some more range of motion in the hip joints to getting down to the floor. So the biggest thing with your body being able to get into different positions is to just keep asking it to get into different positions. The position that we typically are asking our body over and over and over again to get into when we're sitting is to kind of tuck the pelvis under and round the spine here. So I'm more now on my tailbone than I am on my sit bones. So just to introduce something new when you're sitting is perhaps every once in a while come up to the edge of your chair and get more up on top of your sit bones. Like so. If this is still really sticky and tight, and if you're having to use a ton of muscular effort to hold yourself up here, then you can put a towel, some folded towels or a blanket underneath you until you can get more up on top of the sit bones and it feels like you don't have to really hold yourself up here. So this can be done anytime you're sitting, right? So watching the TV, sitting at the table when you're eating or whatever. Adding on to this for a different position for the hip is to bring your ankle just above your knee. Now, if the hip is tight, what this will typically look like is, once again, kind of tucking the pelvis under and getting the leg up like so. So, once again, seeing if you can get up on top of the sit bones and adding whatever height you need to get there. So then maybe sitting like this for a minute. All we're doing is just giving the hip some just different information, just saying like, hey, you have the ability to do this. And you need to remind it often because it already knows how to do this. It's sat it that way for a really, really long time probably. So it already has that information. So we're just giving it different information, right? So you do one side. An extra challenge for this, really to work on some mobility in the hip, which is your body's ability with its muscles to go through the range of motion versus helping it. So I can pick my leg up very easily and put it on my leg by now for me. Harder for me is to actually have the mobility for me to bring it up there. That took actually a lot more effort. So that's a next added practice that you can do throughout your day is when you are working with this position, is to do it, get it there by using your own muscles of the leg and hip and everything to get it up there. So you do one side, stick your hip for me, and then the other. So working your way down to even more hip range of motion is just to change the height of the surface you're working on, since we're working our way down to the floor. So then you come down maybe to the coffee table and getting up on top of the sit bones. So the same thing here, getting and it's harder, a little harder for me, you can see, getting the actual movement without using my hands for that hip position. Also, added to this extra like kind of little hip motion is to hinge forward from the hips. Now you can hinge forward and just hold it there, or you can move in and out of it. Just kind of rocking back and forth, having the movement come from the pelvis rolling forward and back versus the spine moving forward and back. Spinal movement is good, and it's fine to move your spine, but we're just working on hip movement here. Then, of course, so working on the same thing, getting lower. And then you're eventually working your way down to the floor. So if you feel like you've done pretty good working on the coffee table and you're ready to come down to the floor, but maybe this doesn't feel quite so good yet. This is, again, where you can bring things underneath you to help it get a little bit more comfortable. So you can sit and watch TV like so, or sit around your house and talk to people in this position. And then add whatever you want to your seated position. It doesn't have to be cross-leg. You can have, like I mentioned the other one leg swept off to the side, and then hang out there for a little while and switch sides. You can do anything you want. Just kind of be creative with sitting on the floor. So this is typically how I watch TV at night, is I just kind of alter all of these positions, but it has taken me a lot of years of just doing it to be able to get here comfortably. So practice making your way down to the floor and just keep at it. Again, your body will just do what you ask it most to do. So if you sit tucked under a lot, just try rolling the pelvis forward and get different little hip position, and try some of the different thigh bone positions in the hip socket. So let me know if you have any questions, and let me know how you do. See you next time.